2022 was an incredible year for games, and especially the music was amazing. In this list I want to talk about my favorite game music of this year. But before we get into my personal list, I want to know, what is your favorite soundtrack this year? Tell me in the comments. If you want to support my channel and see more videos like that, please consider subscribing. So, here are my favorite soundtracks of this year. Islets came out of nowhere for me, and it turned out to be my favorite metroidvania of 2022. One thing that made this game an absolute gem right in the first few minutes is the soundtrack. The music is composed by Eric Thompson, the brother of the developer, Kyle Thompson. Islets is a wholesome, charming, beautiful and mostly quiet game. One of the reasons for that is the music. Eric Thompson created a calm and relaxing sound that brought even more life to a game that is already a colorful and unique experience on its own. The atmospheric synth sounds fit perfectly in the fantastical world of Islets, and although almost every track is relaxing, the composer managed to create distinct sounds with a variety of styles. From playful tunes like this, to driving sounds like this. Eric Thompson proves himself to be a fantastic composer with a feeling for simple but effective techniques to make the tracks memorable and fun to listen to. Here's an example. Listen to this song. It's not necessarily catchy, but after hearing it for a couple of minutes, it stuck in my head for a few days. Seriously, every piece is designed to keep you as long as possible in one area. I mean, listen to the following track. I wouldn't stop exploring the area because I didn't want to stop playing this. Islets has a unique sound that always warms my heart when I hear it. You can listen to the soundtrack on YouTube. The link to Eric Thompson's video is in the description. Give this whole thing a listen, it will be worth it. This is completely different from the previous entry on this list. The soundtrack of Ollie Ollie World can be described in one word: coolness. Every song in this game fits perfectly into this unusual and weird world where everything is about skateboards and performing the best move with the highest scores. Ollie Ollie World's soundtrack isn't composed by one person. Instead, the developers choose to feature a few artists and their already existing music. They carefully picked some fine chill-out tracks with an incredibly smooth vibe. The first song that always plays when you start the game is this. With its nice beat and playful synth sounds, this track makes clear very quickly what music you can expect from this game. There isn't much of a range in the musical style of Ollie Ollie World's soundtrack, but that's what actually makes it so great. Everything is intended to be super cool and relaxed in its own way. I think that benefits the gameplay in a way that the laid-back songs help you not get frustrated. I mean, this game is hard. You will have to try certain sections over and over again, but with basically zero loading time and the track in the background, you never get frustrated. How could you? I mean, listen to that for example. Although many tracks seems to be designed to help you concentrate, there is more than one song that is just catchy. The following track stuck in my head for a while. To be completely honest, normally this isn't my style of music, but playing Ollie Ollie World and hearing these cool songs feels so good. There is a playlist of the full soundtrack on Spotify. I put the link in the description. You rarely hear something so special in the world of video game music. Ghost Song's soundtrack is composed by Grant Graham, and it has to be one of the most unique I've ever heard. And of course, this is only a good thing. Ghost Song's songs perfectly underline and expand the atmosphere of loneliness and isolation of this metroidvania. Grant Graham did that by emphasizing on sounds of an electric guitar in many of the tracks. That made me feel like I see a person sitting on the amp, playing the guitar in a dark room, and all the other sounds come from that mysterious alien world the game takes place in, because they are so unlike the familiar sound of a six string. Many tracks are as melancholic as it can get. Every time you boot up the game, the following song plays, and every time I waited a few minutes before I load my save file, just to listen to that. Still, while the melancholic tracks are by far my favorite, there is a range of songs for every situation. Here's one piece from a boss battle. I think the artificial sounds create a great atmosphere that makes you feel like you are not welcome and you don't belong on this moon. Which is so powerful because you don't belong on this moon. Another aspect that reinforces that unwelcoming feeling is the recurring dissonance in many of the tracks that want to make you feel just a little uncomfortable. As a guitarist myself, I was pleasantly surprised to hear a game soundtrack with such focus on the guitar. But of course, there's so much more to this masterpiece of a soundtrack that I could talk about. But it's better you take your time to listen to it. It's on YouTube, link in the description. Nothing else this year spoke more to me than the soundtrack of Tunic. The music for Tunic was composed by Janice Kwan and an artist called Lifeformed. If you are familiar with indie game music, you probably heard the name Lifeformed before. He composed the soundtrack to a game called Dust Force, which is absolutely amazing by the way. But we're here to talk about Tunic. Just listen to that. The two composers work together on every track, which creates beautiful combinations of relaxing synth sounds and strong piano parts that complement each other perfectly. There are songs that put more of a focus on the piano parts, and pieces that rely on synthesizers and more computer-generated sounds. The tracks range from peaceful and magical to upbeat and more aggressive. You get hectic and thrilling tracks like this, and more somber and hopeful songs like that. Every piece of music fits the situation and environment and adds so much atmosphere to an already magical world. The soundtrack has 60 songs and it's also available on Spotify. Link in the description, of course. But if you should listen to only one track, I would recommend you listen to the following 6 minutes piece of epicness. I love Tunic's soundtracks to death, and I thank Janice Kwan and Lifeform for this masterpiece that I listen to almost every week since the release of Tunic in March. I mean, it's no surprise, many of the songs appear in my Spotify Wrapped playlist. I know there are so many more amazing soundtracks like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring, but this year the indie game spoke more to me. I love relaxed, calm and melancholic music, and this year happened to have some indie titles that came with amazing and beautiful music and just checked all my boxes. So, that's it. My favorite soundtracks of 2022. Thanks so much for watching. Tell me in the comments what your favorite game music of 2022 is. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see my top 10 games of 2022 list and much more things in the future. Have a nice day and I'll see you in my next video.